Hello, I'm Dan Ware. My guest on this segment is Arthur Beasley of Franklin. Many of you may know him because he was in the barbecue business here in Franklin for many, many years, but that's not really why I asked him to come in today. We'll soon be observing the Memorial Day holiday, and in Washington, D.C., a new memorial is being dedicated to the veterans of World War II. Mr. Beasley is one of those World War II veterans, and he served with a transportation company that gained quite a bit of fame during World War II, the Red Ball Express. So I've asked Arthur to come in and talk a little bit about his experiences in the war, and before we're done, we may talk a little bit about barbecue too, because I do like his barbecue. And I'm sorry he's retired now, because it was mighty good. But let's turn the clock back and go back to the years before the Second World War. Now, are you from Franklin originally?
I'm originally from Tennessee.
Tennessee, okay.
But we moved up here when I was about 11 years old.
Okay.
And we sharecropped till I was 18. When I was 18, that's when I was drafted.
So you were living here when you were drafted, and
right.
You were drafted into the Army.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so where did they send you when they called you up?
Well, they sent me to Louisville for examination. The first time they turned me down.
Oh, they did?
For 30 days. Then they sent me another ingredient to go it, and I passed.
Okay.
Then they sent me back to Louisville. I passed.
Okay.
Then when I passed, we had so many days that they called us to go in, and we went to Fort Knox.
Okay.
We recruited in Fort Knox, and then from there, I took my basic in Little Rock, Arkansas.
I see.
Like I was telling you the other day, they changed that name, but in Little Rock, I just said Little Rock, what they called it when I was there.
Right, right.
And after I took my basic training there, well, they got us ready to go overseas. And so we left Arkansas on a troop train and went to Boston, Massachusetts, and docked there for overseas duty.
Right.
And we went in a convoy from Boston, Massachusetts, overseas, and it took us 29 days on the ocean.
29 days to cross.
29 days to go on.
And I guess that ship was full of troops and supplies and everything? Yeah. So did you go to
It was mostly troops. It was just, it was a convoy of troops, and that's the reason it took us so long. We couldn't make it. And no supplies and then we had control. I couldn't, you know, like airplanes and different ships to guard us across there. I gave them the
submarines.
Submarines.
Yeah. So did you go to England first? Is that the first place?
That's where I docked. We docked in England. And
well, how did you feel being a country boy and here you are halfway around the world?
Well, I feel real good about it.
Really?
I never would have went that far if it hadn't been for that. But I went for a good cause.
Right, right.
But after we docked in England, like I was telling you the other day, we docked in we went to that race course. That's where we camped it.
Yeah.
In them stalls where the horses stayed, but it was clean and just like a house. They had lights and electricity and everything.
Yeah.
They had it fixed up. But they had that little door.
I think you're talking about Epsom Downs. That's maybe that's the famous race course in England where they have the English Derby. They have, yeah. Nowadays, the women all dress up in their hats and all, but that's where you all were quartered.
That's where we
slept in the stalls there.
We stayed there. That was our barracks. And so we hauled ammunition from dock. I mean, it wasn't where we unloaded the ships. I said from England, and carried them to the stockpile. See, they ship stuff over there like from here to into England.
Right.
Then we would haul it in a trucking company to the stockpile, just about whatever. Then that was our day's duty. They would dispatch us out to different directions, different little old towns and different places. And after I left there, England, they flew me to, I flew from England to Germany.
Okay.
They got there's a crew of us, you know.
Okay.
They flew us to Germany. I can't say what little old place it was, but we was on the bivouac area then, and so then they dispatched us out to a trucking company, which we was all trained for truck drivers. And then they dispatched it all out to different trucking companies. And they dispatched me in the 3990.
Okay.
As I didn't say, I first took my training in 3906 in Arkansas, but when I got over there, they put me in the rigid 3990,
Okay.
QM Trucking Company.
Okay.
And from that, we just started working, hauling, and so we
What were you mainly hauling in your truck?
gasoline, ammunition, food, clothes, just about anything that the Army used, just
All
about
the
everything
supplies
that
they would need, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, from what I have read about it, after the D-Day invasion in France, and once they broke through the German lines, the Allied troops, the United States and England, started moving pretty fast. And the Army was covering a lot of ground.
Right.
And so the supply trucks had to go a pretty long way to get the material from where it was stored to where the front line was,
got that
which
right.
kept
That's
changing.
right. That's right. That's the bad way it was.
So I guess you all, how many miles would you have to cover in a...
They call it kilowatts or something or other, but I
Yeah.
never did know what a kilowatt was.
Yeah, yeah.
In the German.
Kilometers,
But,
yeah. But I mean, would you be driving for...
I'd say
How many hours?
4 or 5 hours. Maybe it'd take, just like when we were driving from 4 hours, I'd say, from one distance in Germany, and you wasn't going out of Germany, just like I said, before they started moving. After we were still stationed in Germany, but just like I said, when they moved on up, then we had to haul into Czechoslovakia. And
So the
that,
further in they went, you all kept following them, bringing supplies.
right. Then that distance there was maybe like, it was about a 6-hour drive.
Okay.
So just like they said, we wouldn't drive in the daytime. We would drive at night. We'd leave out. We'd get loaded in the evening while it was the day. And when it go to getting dark, we had to use them cat eyes and
Okay.
get on
Now,
there.
why don't you tell the people watching what cat eyes are? That goes over the headlights, right?
Oh, yeah, what you call it, it's a hop shade. It's just a little bit, well, it's a glass cut, about a half an inch square.
Kind of shaped like a cat eye.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So-
the way it is, yeah.
Just a little bit of light.
It's just
would
a
come
little
through.
bitty light, and then you'll get a little bitty light from the front, from the back truck with its tail lights, and that's all the light. That's all the light you would have.
And the idea was to keep the Germans from seeing the
Right,
convoy.
that's right.
Yeah.
If you turn them, you'd get a penalty there if you turn them headlights on.
Yeah.
And one time they disconnected the headlights, and that's all you had. There wasn't no way that light be turned on accident.
You couldn't turn it on
Right.
at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here you are in a foreign country, a place you've never been before, and you're trying to drive a truckload of supplies. How would you know where to go? How was the road marked?
Well, see, we would get our orders from the commander, like the captain. See, all of the information would come from the high rank, and they'd break it down from the captain to the master sergeant. From the master sergeant, they'd break it down to the platoon leader. He'll be a sergeant, and then he'll break it down to the platoon leader. And they would make, it wasn't like they'd call a street, a highway, a Mayran, or like they call them here, they would number it. 27, 37, like you go to 47, they give you a strip map.
Okay.
and you just have to go with them numbers. And you'd go to 47, you told you how to turn left.
Okay.
You go so-and-so to 27, then 80, and they go on up like that.
Well, why did they call these truck convoys the Red Ball Express?
That was the name of the road.
Okay.
They run on the Red Ball Express. That was
Okay.
the highway. That was the name of that highway.
So did the highway have signs on it with a little red ball on it?
Right.
Okay, so
Showed you how to get to it, just like they would the interstate. And
so if you see that red ball on the side of the road, you know you're on the right
that's right.
right path. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they was on the right path. And you didn't have no speed limit.
Yeah. Well, you were hauling these materials from the rear up toward the front. How close did you actually get to the front lines where the combat was going on?
Well, you got straggler snipers, and so we would get, I'd say, 5 or 10 miles from the front line, and we could see the guns and big, shooting and tanks and things going. We'll be, I said 10 miles or 20 miles, we'd be that close.
Okay.
Then the infantry would take over there, then go on up in the front.
Well, now, what was the most danger to the trucks? Would it be snipers, or would it be airplanes, or what did you have to watch out for?
Airplanes and snipers.
Okay.
And the airplanes were the worst thing that you'd have to look out for, because they trying to knock that convoy out with that supply.
So how would the convoy protect itself from the airplanes?
Well, if it's really important, they always have a straggler up in the air. It's called it. And their fighter plane would go so far.
Okay.
And then they'd go just about your distance. You'd be watched over, and a lot of times you'll have a outfit of tanks on one side. They'll be spotted, and that'll be your protection if anything would happen. Just like they'd be here. We had to go through Franklin, get up out of Woodburn maybe. They got some snipers, airplane where they'll. Our planes would spot them or something, maybe knock them out. And a lot of times you'd be, airplane would be over the convoy, and you wouldn't know nothing about it till you got back and was told. They wouldn't tell you a whole lot of things because they figured that they'd spook the drivers.
Well, what about on the truck itself? Did you carry a sidearm? Or
You had
a
assistant driver. You had assistant driver. And you had the front truck. I think, like I told you the other day, they had, if it's 25 trucks or 30, they'd have 3 machine guns in that convoy.
Okay.
One in the front, one in the middle, and one in the rear.
Okay.
And so that
So not every truck had it, but...
No, not every truck didn't have
Okay.
it. But they would have, what they'd call it, that'd be the gunner. He'd have to stand up through that cab in that gunner and watch for his driver. If he's seen a sniper.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. Well, how many times do you remember getting strafed by airplanes, your particular...
Twice.
Okay. What was that like?
A running hero.
A running here. Get away from there fast.
Well, we was in the company, and a siren would come on. It would let you know. They had a siren would come on and let you know when the Germans was in the air. You could hear they had an airplane. Their airplanes would have a different roar than ours. They had a whoop, 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 whoop. And anybody could just be out there, and if you hear a plane, that racket, he's up there, but you can't see him. He'll be so high, but it just makes it like a jet, And you just have to take cover, and it might be a fighter plane up there after. And if more apt, it would be.
Well, would the convoy stop and try to get off the road or anything, or you just kept going?
We kept going.
Just kept going.
Yeah. We kept going.
Regardless.
It was, if they'd knock out a truck in the road or something other week, but that never did happen to us. We always was lucky enough to keep going, and we was pretty well guarded. I just said in that matter, we was pretty well guarded overhead and on the ground with what we had. But
what would happen if a truck broke down? Would they leave it, or would they try to fix it right there on the spot? And
it's a maintenance truck in behind.
Okay.
That follows that convoy everywhere it goes. And they'll fix it. Got a mechanic. If it's a minor thing, they'll fix it. If it tears up too bad, they can't fix it. They might have some supplies right there to put it in there. But if they ain't, they'll just leave it.
Did you have the same spot in the convoy every time you went out?
I was the leader. I was the leader in the convoy. I was number one truck.
Okay.
Being a staff sergeant, I can't think of his name, but he would ride with me. I'd always have a sergeant, a leader with me, you know. And he was a direction guy. He'd pretty much.
Yeah. How did you get picked to be the number one truck? Do you know why they picked you for that?
I don't know. I ain't gonna say it, but I was a fast driver.
Okay.
And I got credit for a good driver. And so I guess it's something like that, because all I remember, they said, Beasley, drive number 6. And he'll lead the convoy, and so.
Well, if you were leading the convoy, would they tell you, now, I want you to drive at a certain speed?
No, I got a sergeant up here. You got a certain speed to drive so far, but you got a sergeant to give you directions. He got orders for that whole convoy, and they got to go for all that direction, but through with him. Just like, but if you get out, just like I said, we get loaded one, we'd get on the Red Ball Express. They had 60, I think it's 60 miles an hour, 65 on them trucks. That was all they do till you took the governors off of them.
So did that happen a lot? Would they take the governors off?
I took mine off.
Okay.
And he would do 100 and something.
Yeah, and so you took.
I took mine off. Well, yeah, they.
Well, what about when you had to climb a hill or something? No, wouldn't that be harder with that governor off of there?
No. You'd have the same speed, but that governor held it back. You couldn't. When it got up to that governor, that's as fast you go. You couldn't go no fast. I forgot. I believe it was 40 or 45. It was a slow speed with that governor. You could open that truck wide open, it wouldn't go no faster.
So most everybody would take those governors off. Yeah.
And that truck had 90 miles an hour, you take it off and you could do 90 miles an hour.
Yeah, and I'm sure General Patton or whoever wanted you could come in at 90 miles an hour because he wanted
It didn't make no difference. He said, how do you have to roll them or something other? I forgot now how you had it.
Yeah.
But when you got on there, that was it, roll them.
Well, if you're trucking and trying to get there, I assume they don't want you to stop and eat or anything. Did you ever cook on the radiator or on the engine or anything? Warm food?
You got sea rations.
Sea rations, okay.
It might not. It won't be no lunchtime. All you get is breaks. You drive so far, and the captain or whoever who's leading the convoy, they'll give you a 10-minute break, a 15-minute break after the smoke, and eat your ration like that.
Okay, so no hot food or anything then?
No.
All right.
Only hot food you get if you're on the bivouac. Now, if you're in the bivouac area and they ain't at a cooking company, and just if you're in combat, you ain't got no cooking company. You got your sea ration, you got enough that they'll furnish you that to last you so many days. And if you got canned stuff, they got a little old thing about like a shoe polish box. You can light it.
Okay, like a little sterno can.
Okay.
And
you could use that. And we use that helmet. Well, take a bath in. Heat food, we take canned food and put it down in that water. Make a little fire in that helmet sometimes.
Yeah.
If it didn't have that little old heating can. So.
Yeah.
And rest of it, well, there was jelly and crackers, and it was eatable stuff. You didn't have to warm it.
Did you get enough time to sleep, or if you were driving all night, could you sleep in the daytime, or
you
did
had
you
to
just do
sleep
without
in the
sleep,
day.
or what?
You had to sleep in the daytime. When you got back off of duty, you'd go in. You just about drive all night. Sometimes you come in the morning, and then you can take off in, go to your backs and take a shower and bath, and then go to sleep. Then they're going to wake you up for chow.
Right.
Then they're going to wake you up out in the middle of the day to get back on you, to go back to your truck. You got to go to the motor pools and check your trucks. And just you got to take care of them. But they like I said, take care of them. It's your baby. You had to check that yourself, grease it, and clean it up, and you had to have it spick and span.
Right. Right.
And
were most of the drivers in your unit, were they African American, or was it integrated, or
they
I
were
guess they had
at the
troops
company that I was
separated,
in
didn't
was all African American.
they? Okay. Okay.
Only time that we got mixed when we got coming back, then it was I guess when the war was over, they mixed it up in. But then we got discharged the same way, just like you go in, it's black and white, and go in, and then they separated us. It was a segregated company I was in. Well, it was just about that way back in that time. Because I don't think during my time, like it was in Arkansas, taking the basic, be the white over there and the black over here. Yeah.
Well, whenever you got some leave and went into town, were the French or the Germans, you feel like they treated you any different, treated the blacks any different than the whites, or
No.
it was all the same?
No, we got treated, I'd speak for myself, and I never heard of no diffusion. We got treated nice.
So
I mean,
did you get to go to like Paris and some of the big cities?
I went to places in Germany, little old towns in Germany like Cherbourg and Nürnberg, and on passes, and you could go there for a scenery, like take pictures, and they had places where you could eat. They had sweet places, and they had well, I couldn't tell you. Well, I don't know. It's a restaurant like, but they had food that you could buy. And
so most of the people were very friendly to you?
we didn't get no. I never say no.
Did they speak
they was
English,
glad.
or how did you get around the foreign language?
You'd make signs and this and that, and, and bow your head and do this and that. You could. You keep on asking different things that you learn, like water or something like that, and they could understand. And they'll call it water, or they make a. But it was difficulty that you couldn't get no information if you didn't know how to speak it, didn't know understand the language. I never learned none of it, so I didn't even get tired of it too much of them to talk with them.
Did they have any pretty girls over there?
Oh, God, that whole country. England is known for, they know to be pretty people.
You strike up a few conversations with some of those pretty
I
women?
don't know, is that confidential?
Some things about a man just doesn't tell, does he?
You're gonna have to cut this machine of me. Oh, you had man privileges over there. I mean, but not when it was hot. That was after the war was over with. You could go out and get passes, and so you could make dates, and you could stay at motels and hotels.
Well, that kind of made up
They
for
call them cat
all
house.
that.
They call them cat houses.
Right. I guess that little bit of leave kind of made up for
Oh yeah,
all
well,
that hard work. And
right.
everything.
I guess they figure a stud need to be out somewhere or another. But myself, the outfit and where I was and the people. Now you could find like a prejudice company, but it wasn't no big deal. You could just find it high. They would throw slangs and hoop and holler and all that old stuff.
Well, I read that the Red Ball Express kind of famous and kind of got written up some in the papers, and people back home were hearing about, you know, the trucks and how valuable getting those cans of gas.
I thought,
were you all aware that you were getting good publicity back home? Or,
yeah.
you knew about it? Okay.
I got, you know, it was a write-up in the paper about me, but my mother cut it out, and she told me about what, you know, they made a recommend how good a soldier I was. But I don't know what come out. I seen it when it come out. It was a piece about that long. And they would recognize different. I mean, you would show up and you serve your duties. You know what I mean? And I think they would give you credit for it. I mean, that's the way I look at it.
I see you're wearing some of your medals there. Tell me a little bit about the medals that you've got. And I know you've got a story about how you had to get them replaced. So tell me about that.
I brought all of them home. This is what they call the ruptured duck.
Okay.
And so and these here, you have to look at it, which I can't. He asked me about them. You look on the underside.
All right.
And just turn them over. Now look, turn them over there. Show you on the other side what it represents.
Okay. Yeah. All right. United States. Okay. Freedom of speech. Freedom. Okay. And I've got a sheet here that talks about that. Let's see. Let me look at that.
Okay, here.
And it says that you got
There's the Good Conduct Medal.
Good Conduct Medal, World War II Victory Medal, European, African, Middle Eastern Theater Ribbon, 4 bronze stars.
Right, there's your bronze stars right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
But now these medals you got on today, these are replacements for your originals, right?
Right.
The original got lost.
Right.
But you were able to write and get them.
Well, I got a piece of it. It's in there. I think it, you know.
Yeah, your letter here.
Yeah, that's some of it right there where I was. Yeah, and they said, well, it took me about 2 years to get it.
Okay.
But I kept on till.
But any veteran that would persist at it could write and could do the same thing you did, right?
Well, if they got to stay at it, but I tell you, it was kind of a problem to me, because they would write back and they couldn't do this. One guy went down here where this old veteran would come in and you talk to him, and he was the one to give me that address on that yellow slip. And I think that was down here in Fort Knox.
Okay.
And I wrote down there, and they couldn't do nothing about it, and I just couldn't give her back. I just got to figuring I wanted my medals, you know. And they're really important if you look at where you went through life with it, you know. And
sure. So, well, I've got a picture here of you in uniform that I'm going to hold up and let Clint get a picture of that.
Well, that's really
now, how old are you? You know, you have any idea where that was made or when?
I got a baby face there.
Yeah, I tell you. Yeah.
I was 22 years old at that time.
22?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I got discharged. I was at home. I took that. You kind of keep on talking?
Yeah.
I took that with my mother and sister. I'm standing behind my mother.
I'm trying to get straight here.
Okay, my mother's down under there, and my sister's on each side. But I carried out here and had them cut off.
Yeah.
But I still got them at home.
Well, yeah, you were a good-looking man there. Now,
I was 22 years old at that time. I had just got out. Well, I hadn't just got out. I just done got discharged. I say it like that.
Well, now, Hollywood made a movie about the Red Ball Express in 1952.
Okay.
And I guess the fellow that was playing you was an actor some people have heard of. His name was Sidney Poitier.
You're right.
So
right.
That you all can look at the picture here and see if Arthur here looks like Mr. Sidney Poitier or not. But that's pretty good to have an actor like that portraying what you did there. Yeah. Did you see that movie?
Yeah, I see it.
Did you see it here in Franklin, or where did you see it?
Here in Franklin.
At the Roxy Theater.
Yeah.
Well, how, looking back on it, did you feel like that whole experience of being in the military and going through combat, was that, I mean, war is a terrible thing, but did it help you mature and
I say it educated me from a whole lot of things. It educated me with people. I was with more people than I guess I ever would be. Good people, bad people, all kinds of people.
Yeah.
And his experience. And me being a country boy, I'm glad that I'd done something for the world. And I done it in a good manner.
Well,
And like I said about my medals, and they give me credit for just about everything that you couldn't ask me. I tell a lot of guys, I said, if you got your medals, I would have to wear them to church and put them on, you know, going to different places. And I feel good about it.
well, but of course, bottom line, war is not a pretty business. You're out
right.
to kill the other guy before he can kill you.
Yeah, that's true.
Were you exposed to a lot of death and corpses? Did you see some of the grislier aspects of the
I've
war?
seen quite a few, like where the infantry had went through and made a move, and we had to travel through there. I've seen a lot of deaths. But in action, I never seen, you know, bang, 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 because you take the infantry, you would see more of that, because they the one that's on the ground troops. And so you take a trucking company, they on the move, you know. And they ain't gonna, no less than, I never heard of it, no less than they would get stopped on the road and had to shoot it out or had to dismount, but we never did have to dismount.
But
not my company, but it was companies that did, you know, that got blowed away.
Well, I believe you told me the other day when we were talking that sometimes in the wintertime when it was cold and frozen, the trucks would have to move through a battle area before they had even taken away the bodies, and you were having to
we had
drive through.
ran over dead Germans where they had killed them, and all I recognized was the German's helmet and him, but I don't think it was, I never seen an American that was a casualty. Then some of the trucks in my company,
I guess the Germans had to retreat and fall back, and left their dead
that's where the Americans
over on this side, and you all just had to drive.
And so the road hadn't been, well, to tell you the truth, we was the first one up that road.
No, it hadn't been plowed or anything.
Right,
so
that's right. It hadn't been checked or nothing. We could have run over a mine or anything, but we was lucky that we didn't. But then they would dispatch so many trucks. I never was on that detail but once, to go out and pick up Germans. And the trucks, one time, and I didn't get no full load. It was cold. It was zero weather. And I got off of that detail somewhere or another, and 5 more trucks come in the company. They were just stacked in there like wood in that truck. And they had to carry them. I don't know where to carry them because I wasn't on that detail.
But presumably the Americans buried them somewhere. Yeah. And so after Hitler was defeated, you were still in for a while, and you said you got as far as Czechoslovakia.
The war was over, but we still had to carry supplies and stuff like that. It was, first when we got on the Red Ball dress, it was hot, but it finally, when the war was over, that's when everything settled down. Then we just had to stock places
What, you were discharged, I think these papers show, in 1946. So what did you do when you got out of the Army? Or did you come back to Franklin?
I come back to Franklin. I come back to Franklin. Worst mistake I ever made. I wish I'd have stayed in there.
Made a career of it?
Right.
Yeah.
I wish I'd have stayed in there, but I come out, and my mother and father was living at the time, and I went home. I just said went home with my mother and father, and I stayed there, and finally I got married, and we'll just go into civilian life now. I got married, and I sharecropped around here for 3 years, I believe, and I moved to Indianapolis. Me and my family had a wife and 2 kids. I moved to Indianapolis and made my home in Indianapolis for 6 years.
Where'd you go after that?
Well, I wouldn't, it was separation during that time. I wouldn't want to think about that.
Well, but I mean, you saw,
I went from
in
there.
your life, you've seen quite a bit of the United States,
from there, from there. from there, I went to Dayton, Ohio.
Okay.
I lived there 6 years, went to Dayton. And I stayed in Dayton 3 years. Then I left Dayton and went to Boston, Massachusetts, and I stayed up there a year and a half. Then I came back to Indianapolis and stayed 2 or 3 years, and then I went to St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay.
And I stayed in St. Louis, Missouri 4 years.
Well, now, is that where you learned the barbecue business?
And that's where that I learned to barbecue at that
All
time.
right, tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I was working with a guy, sod. Well, it was laying sod. They would cut sod, and I got a little old job with working with him, but this guy had a barbecue place, and I'd hang around there, and he asked me to help him. Why don't you get in there and help me? I said, what do you want me to do? You keep that turn, you keep this turn. And I copycatted my barbecuing from him. I never even thought that I would be a barbecue man, but I came back, I stayed there, then I come back to Franklin. And I came, my mother and father were living at that time. I come back to Franklin and I worked around here. Then I worked, well, just the jobs I had, I worked at Sullen Gage, 7 years. I worked at Alliance Rubbercraft for 7 years. I worked at Kinder's about a year and a half. And during the time I'm working, well, I'm thinking about what am I going to do when these factories close up on me. And I said, well, I come Mr. Barbecuing on the side before I quit work. I was still doing public work. And I rigged up me some trucks and things, and I first started barbecuing at home. So I rigged up me a barbecue truck, I call it. And I went out selling barbecue, and it just got better and better and better. And so that was a weekend thing for me. I'd do 40 hours of work.
And then on the weekend?
And weekend, I would barbecue, and so.
Well, did the barbecue business gradually get big enough that it took
I
over
got
the
out
other?
I quit running. Well, before I got out of the truck, I went up at where Horse Dunn's at now. You know where I had that place.
Kind of on the corner up there.
I ran that place 4 years. I had it 2 years one time, and I quit, and I had it rented it back for 2 more years. And just working myself, and I had to go to the hospital, and so I quit. Then I made me some accessories, bought me a accessory stand, then I made me a truck out of a bread wagon. And so that's how my barbecue went over.
Well, it was a sad day when you decided to retire. There was a lot of people that really liked that barbecue.
You know,
I've got a clipping that came out of the Franklin Favorite in January of this year.
Okay.
And it shows one of the trucks. I guess you had rigged this up yourself, right?
Yeah, right. That's
this
just an
was
old
from the
pickup.
1970s.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's an old pickup truck. And I put a barbecue pit on it and cook on it and had a steam table on it. And,
you were ready, yeah. Well, now tell me, where did the name Daddy Rabbit Barbecue come from?
Everything, I named my own sandwiches. I had a big boy sandwich, and I had a baby bun, and then I decided, I just heard it over the radio, Daddy Rabbit's Barbecue. And I said, well, I think I'll be Daddy Rabbit's Barbecue.
Okay.
And so I come here to be, the people, well, the whole world, everybody come and call me Daddy Rabbit instead of Beasley. Y'all come Daddy Rabbit. So, like, people call me that name. If they don't call me the barbecue man, they'll call me Daddy Rabbit. So
All right.
I enjoyed doing that. I still enjoy it. If I could keep my health and the people, I dealt with good people. I mean, when you cook with somebody and they'll enjoy it, it makes you feel good.
What's your favorite meat to barbecue?
Pork.
Pork?
Pork was the favorite meat.
Okay, but what else have you?
I've cooked beef. I don't know if it's in there. I cooked 600 pounds of beef.
Okay.
For some motorcycle guys.
Oh, tell me about that. And they carried that meat across the country, didn't they?
They carried it down to California. They was going to California somewhere down there to a motorcycle club.
Yeah.
And they asked me would I fix some beef for them. And I said, how much? They said 600 pounds. And I said, yeah. Which I had big pits out there. And they says, okay. And so I got a good piece of money out of it. And so it took me about a week to cook that meat. And so they wanted it on a Saturday. And they asked me, says, how we going to keep that meat? I said, well, I tell you, one of them had a little old Datsun truck, had a what cover in it, or what you call that little bin.
Right.
I said, that's a refrigerator right there. He said, what you mean? I said, I'll package that barbecue up, and I come to town, got me some cardboard boxes, small one, and got me some trash bags, them little small trash bags, white. I put that, I seasoned everything and put that beef in them bags and tied it and put it in them boxes, and I sealed it up, put it in that Datsun truck, and they put ice, bags of ice all over it.
And drove off to California.
They went on to California. They said when they got to California, some of that barbecue was froze. Where that ice, said the ice, they covered it up with a canvas.
Right.
Well, they asked me before that, said, how are we going to heat all that? That little old Datsun truck was full of meat.
Yeah.
Well, me being in the Army and being out on the bivouac there, I could think, and I said, I tell you what, you get you a water trough, a cattle water trough, a small one.
Yeah.
And put it case of blocks, which if you can't find no rocks, and set up on them blocks, fill it about half full of water, and build you a bonfire under it, and get you some catwalk and put over top of it. And I said, get you some aluminum pans and put that barbecue in it and set it on there. And I said, you'll have a steam table.
Yeah. So is that what they did?
They done that, and they come back, and they told me that they brought back, I think, I don't know how many pounds. And they said everything worked out good.
All right, so Daddy Rabbit Barbecue made it to California.
It sure did. It's been Arkansas. I've had to go to Arkansas, different places. I've been really good, progress with that barbecue. That's what makes me like, doing it.
Yeah.
When you do for people that's satisfied,
Well, Colonel Sanders had a secret recipe for his chicken. You got a secret recipe for your sauce?
People tell me, I said, I just shake and bake. I said,
a little of this and a little of that till it...
Yeah, I had a rhyme. They asked me about barbecue, and I said, I got it juicy, sweet, and plenty of meat. I wrap it, you can eat.
There you go.
And so I'd always have something to say to them. Yeah. So that's the way that went down. And I've done that, I guess, 20...
Says 26 years here in this thing in the Franklin favorite. That's a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. Because I fixed up at home. I had my building and everything. And everything was comfort, where there was no problem.
Well, I'm sorry you got out of the business, but everybody deserves a little retirement.
Well,
and, I hope you're enjoying yours.
Well, I thank you. I really hate to get out of it because it was $1 in it, and I love $1.
Well, who doesn't?
And I can miss it, and I miss the people. I
guess you did meet a lot of people doing that.
I did, yeah. So that's just about the end of my life, I guess.
You probably got several years left.
Up to now, I was 80 years old. Sad I told you about that, though, didn't I?
80th birthday. Well, that's a real milestone there.
And I just made my mind up. I think I'll just cool it a little bit because I've done just about all I guess is the good Lord spared me to do.
Well, why don't you hang around till you're 100 and then come back on?
Well, I'm gonna leave it up to him. I ain't gonna knock on the door.
All right. Well, that is his call, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to wrap us up for today. But I sure have enjoyed talking to you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you doing what you did. I appreciate telling the history of part of my life. I've thought about that a lot of times. And just like I tell you about that fold I had from Germany, I kept a lot of stuff, but just when I got out as a young person, I didn't think too much of it till later years, and I said, I got my discharge. I went to the courthouse and recorded it. I had sense enough to do that. And just the important thing, I said, well, they could lose it or get burned up for some original, and I had it recorded at the courthouse, and so.
Well, I'm glad it worked out where you could get your medals.
Oh yeah, and I tell the guys now that ain't even got them. Fred said he didn't have his, and I said you ought to get their medal.
About Fred Briggs?
Yeah. And I said he just like myself. He just put them somewhere and just didn't pay no attention. But now, the way this war is, and these young boys is over there, and I didn't live to get 80 years old, I got tempted for things. But it's anything that you can get is important. I mean, it's really important.
Mm-hmm.
They died at 21 and 18 and 21 years of age. Mm-hmm. And it's a sad thing. And if you got a little something to show that you try to save somebody else's life and you save your own, I think it's important.
Yeah, and unfortunately, when most of us, when we're young, we don't appreciate things like we do when we get older.
We'll
I
let
guess
a lot
that's
of
just human
things
nature.
just rock on, and you can look back. I can look back like this, and I should have stayed in there.
Well,
I mean,
you know, we don't get a chance to do over. We just have to live as we go. Yeah.
Truthfully, I'd have been about as good a job as I'd have got out in civilian life to make a living. That'd have been a retirement job, you know.
But who would have cooked all that barbecue if you had stayed in the
Well,
Army?
just like I decided now, they're going to have to feed yourself.
Sooner or later it comes to that.
Yeah,
All right.
I appreciate you. Appreciate you calling me up here.
No, I was glad to do it.
Yeah.
My guest today has been Arthur Beasley of Franklin, a decorated World War II veteran, a man who's seen a little bit of the world and came back to Franklin, Kentucky, and performed a valuable service for us here from all his years in the barbecue business. And we were glad to have him today as a guest. We were glad to have you watching. Hope you'll join us again next week. So long.